Oh, hello, Internet, and welcome back to the TapStream podcast. This is episode 11, and we are continuing with the theme of having on a guest. Last week we had the awesome Gamer Smack, and we talked about streaming, and this week I have brought on my best friend of 10 years. Goes by the name DearChristopher, and we got to talking about streaming. And I felt like it was a very unique position to be from, because a lot of times whenever I have done this before, it's been with somebody that has been streaming for a while, and it's more of a retrospective look back on the things that they have learned along the way when it comes to streaming. But with the case of Chris, he has just recently started streaming, but has had a plethora of experience and knowledge given the history with him and starting a band and you know, playing music his entire life. And this episode covers him equating the way that starting a band has a lot of similarities with streaming, and kind of the value in learning from failure and starting over and picking yourself back up again. And it is just a really great episode. I think you're going to enjoy it. So I'm not going to say too much on this side of the recording, and I'm going to go ahead and let you guys jump right into it. So thank you for listening, and please enjoy. Have you already started drinking?
Yeah, but I'm actually just normally like this.
No, that was not intended to assume one way or the other.
Pew!
I like how for a podcast you have already incorporated some lights.
You know what's funny is I made you turn your camera on, and I'm just watching myself.
That's very interesting. We've started recording, by the way.
We are? Oh.
Yeah, so this seems like a good way. By the way, hey, Chum.
Oh, Chum.
For those that might be on the audio-only podcast...
Wait, are you recording video, too?
No, I'm not recording video. I'm not recording video. For those who don't know, I am talking with my good friend, who goes by the alias DearChristopher. We are on Discord right now, and we have both turned on cameras for an audio-only format, and I can see his lovely significant other, Chelsea, in the background. And so that's what that was. A very long setup for a push of a punchline. How's it going, Chris? How you doing?
Thanks, Trey. Sorry, that's a visual only joke.
We can't keep making visual gags the entire time. I'm gonna keep it simple. What's been the highlight of your day?
Oh, the highlight of my day. Sorry. Geez. Chelsea. I guess I can say Chelsea's name. Sorry. Chelsea's family came in and visited us on our undisclosed location, and we got to go do the taffy pool, and we walked around and went to an antique shop. We just had a nice family day. It was a ton of fun. Here's a good highlight, because that was really sappy. This is my official highlight. My highlight of my day was that I ate a cheeseburger with peanut butter on it today.
I have been meaning to try that, and you knowing me know that I am terrible when it comes to trying stuff. I don't know what it is about peanut butter on a hamburger that sounds enticing to me. Well, how was it?
It's good. It's the second time I've had it, but I had it with bacon and cheese, and the burger was like very well seasoned, and it was really good. And like your first thought, I don't know, I feel like I could talk a lot about this. Your first thought for peanut butter is that it's going to be sweet, and it's funny that naturally that's where my mind went. And then the more I thought about it, I was like, peanut butter is not usually sweet. I mean, I know that peanut butter has sugar in it, but
it's a lot of additive sugar, where like the Jiffy and the Peter Pan.
It's pronounced Giffy.
Shut up! We're not gonna fight like this.
No, so like you think of like peanut butter and jelly, and like jelly is sweet. Peanut butter is typically the yin to jelly's yang in a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. So it has its place in a savory burger. It's weird. Mm-hmm. I love it. It's like, I mean, you eat like, well, you personally don't, but people eat like pho, like Vietnamese food with peanuts in it, and it's normal. So stop judging me, basically.
I'm not judging you. I was actually going to equate it to a time that you and I went to a Cheddar's bar and grill, and we sat at the bar and we ordered drinks because we used to live, you've moved away, we used to live in such a small town that literally the coolest bar was Cheddar's. So let that sink in for a second. And we ordered.
Nah, well, hang on. I don't want to stop you completely, but I just want to say that there are bars. They are just high school reunions, and that's why Cheddar's was the coolest bar, because it was low rated. Like,
and I will say this,
profile.
because back when you and I were still in the same town, there wasn't many options. We have since gotten more, so that's not fair, especially because I know we have people that listen to us that would be a slight too. So maybe that's not the best way to describe that. Regardless, we were at a Cheddar's and we ordered Wisconsin cheese bites, and we had a waiter who was so adamant about us trying it with caramel. It was these like mozzarella fried cheese balls, and at first I think we both understood that he was just trying to mess with us, because I've never seen anybody so like forceful about it and also recognize how creepy he was sounding.
Yeah, it was. he took like the, if I remember it correctly, it was almost like we were being pranked, and like there was a hidden camera somewhere, like a not like TV's pranking, but like YouTube pranked. I don't know. He was very pushy about it. It was weird.
Like a slow night at the bar, like, hey, I bet you can't make these people try this kind of thing.
It's a weird bet.
But no, that's what like describing that peanut butter hamburger sounds like to me. Like something that doesn't seem like it would go together, but when you actually stop and parse it, it actually does.
Yes, I agree. It was, yes, sorry. I'm the cheese bites and caramel thing it's a good comparison, but I feel like, whenever you get in trouble by your parents and they're like, what did you do? And you're like, I hit somebody with my car, and then they say that, they would naturally freak out. And they're like, no, I didn't, but I'm failing one of my classes. It's like saying cheese and caramel. Really? No, but peanut butter on a burger. It's like, oh, okay, well, that's not as weird. So
you go in with the big ask, and then you go with the ask you actually wanted.
Exactly.
So why did you spoil The Walking Dead for me? No, I'm just kidding.
I didn't do that.
That's all this podcast is. Why, is it uncomfortable for you?
No, you're making me angry.
Oh. All right, well then I'll go ahead and transition to this. It's, Dear Christopher, aka Chris, has been a longtime friend for me. We're coming up on 2 years of friendship. Normally whenever I do these podcasts, it's like a bit of a quick like cold cut intro and then we get into the meat of it, but it's like, how do you cold cut a friendship that has been this long? I will say this. He is a brand new, wonderful streamer on mixer.com/DearChristopher. He's been doing some music stuff, and I thought it'd be fun to try and take another stab at this podcast, because we have a lost episode together.
Yes, we do. Did I? I don't think I ever even heard it.
You never heard it. We recorded together,
Yeah.
and I think we honestly just had fun together, and just... I shelved it because I got a little bit behind on what I was doing, and I think we had talked about like a lot of time sensitive stuff, so it just became too far away for me to release it, which I do apologize for, by the way.
I think I said something that offended you and you just shelved it because of that.
To be honest, this is me bearing my soul. I did not listen to it aside from that time that we did it together, but I knew that we had talked about some time sensitive stuff, so that's why
yeah, that's fair.
The further I got away from it, the further it was just like, this is probably not as relevant anymore. But we had fun flying drones together. That was cool.
Oh yeah, that was around the same time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm selling my drone now.
Really?
Yeah, this doesn't have anything to do with.
Look, I've gone through a rebrand of this podcast. There is no topic. We're gonna have fun. We're both drinking. We'll see where this goes.
Yeah, I'm selling it. I've used it literally 8 or 9 times. I think it would have been more cost effective to have rented it every time I thought it would be a good idea to fly my drone than have bought a drone. So
you should I don't know how far you are into selling it, but you should go and get like some just stock footage to have on hand, like just stockpile.
Yeah, I really should. But that's the brilliant part is I a really good friend of mine he doesn't need it. Who needs a drone? I mean, if you need a drone, you probably have already established the fact that like there are many more avenues to take to get to the point where you need a drone, but he wants a drone. So I knowing that I've used it 8 times, I made him a good deal on it, contingent on me being able to borrow it whenever I want.
Do I know the friend that's going to be buying it? Because I think I have an idea, and I don't know if we can say his name or not.
He just had a little baby.
No, then I don't know him.
Okay.
Because you have a cousin that like posts stuff to Twitter all the time. He has video edits, and they're always really cool.
Yeah, no, my cousin. I don't. I'd love to shout him out. I don't know if he.
That's the only thing.
Yeah, he probably wouldn't mind, but he doesn't deserve free promotion. No, he has a Mavic. I get it's just a Mavic, and I have the Mavic Air. His Mavic his gimbal's messed up, so technically, yeah, that would make sense that he would want it. But no, he has a better drone.
Tell me about your stream.
Okay. So I don't really know what it is yet. I mean, so the essence of it is, I hop on stream and okay, let me do it this way. My goal is to hop on stream, write a song, and give people the opportunity to jump in and have some fun, chat with me, engage and interact, but be able to affect the arrangement of the song. And if they can find a way to communicate it, actually affect like the like voicing and chording of whatever it is I'm writing. But I don't know how to do that yet.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't know how to empower people with the ability to say like, no, play it like this. So I don't think that's totally possible. But the shorthand is jump and stream, have a good time, listen to me kind of create and see me run through my creative process, but be able to actually affect what you're hearing too. Because I think it would I'm going to make a quick segue to why I want to do that. And I think it would be really cool. The streaming as a whole is so interesting in that you are watching, because my thoughts are so fragmented. You're watching something, you're watching people who have, figured out that they need to elevate themselves both creatively and technologically. So you see these incredibly high quality and high entertainment value streams, and then you're able to instantly interact with it and plug for Mixer, like the faster than light.
I just lost you.
Nuts. Like, it's so cool. And so to take that thought process that everybody is kind of naturally just stepping up over each other, to apply it to something that no one else is really doing, is cool, because the audience is going to feel like they're participating and they're getting, what you would get out of a gaming or other creative avenue of a stream. But you'll actually have a product at the end that you can share and enjoy, that you had a part in. And I think that is super cool, but I'm not quite there yet in terms of that's my end goal. Write a song, have people engage and interact, and actually affect the product that's going to come out of it. Because I fully intend to, record and release these things. I'm recording and actually processing through an audio workspace as I'm doing this, so I can play back what I'm doing as I do it. I'm not just kind of scribbling notes down. So it's unique. I mean, there's nothing super fresh about it in the sense of I'm not changing lives or anything with like the way I'm doing it, but it's cool because I haven't seen anybody else do it quite this way.
Well, there's two things that I immediately like about it, like from the get-go. When you first described this to me, like, it was interesting because, one, it reminds me, I don't know how much you know, but remember back on Twitch when people did the Twitch Plays Pokemon? And like it became this huge thing where chat guided it. This is kind of like that, but with music, cool. And more obviously of a human element to it. And then second, you hit on the thing that made it really special, because you introduced me to Seth Godin. And we've been talking about it on this podcast, how essentially his whole thing is that you need to make something worth talking about. What better way to get people to start sharing what you're doing than when they have ownership with it? Because I mean, that's what's special about like streaming, is this community feel. Excuse me, the community feel. But at the end of the day, that all kind of stays within the community itself. Like for me and my stream, our Discord, our in chat, like that doesn't really go out past that boundary. But with the music, they could share that with their friends and people who don't necessarily understand what streaming is. So that right there, I was like, yeah, this is a really cool idea that you've got going on.
Yeah, I agree. Sorry, not that I agree. I agree with points you've made, and I appreciate that you appreciate the idea. That was a very presumptuous thing
no, you're fine.
in that statement with. I I broke my concentration because I keep hearing system sounds because I don't have my do not disturb on, and I almost just quit out of Discord because I hear Discord going on.
That'd be a great way to end this podcast. It's just the world's shortest podcast.
Like I right clicked it and I hovered over quit and I thought, what am I doing? It's like, why am I about to do this? Yeah, no, that's yeah, well said. You said it well. I think it's really cool, and it can be, it can be something really big, and it's also it's cool because the nature I've noticed of really, um, really talented streamers, um, and I guess you could call it content creators, but just this new media, the really talented people are super supportive, and and so that kind of affects how I want to carry the community that I hope to cultivate. But also, it's such a cool idea that I don't even want to keep it for myself. Like a few people have said, friends of mine who I've coerced into into coming and watching the stream, they were like, man, this is such a cool idea. And at that point, kind of what you did for me, I'm doing for them. I'm saying, how easy this is, right? If you have the technical ability to just kind of low investment jump into it, do it. Because even if you're just doing it, with like your phone or something, I don't know how you want to do it, but do it, because this isn't an idea that needs to be held by one person. It's really cool. And people with the ability creatively and technologically to do it should be doing it, because it's just super neat. And I mean, hopefully I can edge enough out to draw a crowd and and keep people, because I think it's unique and it's fun, and it's I know, it's just different. It's cool.
It's a step past what I've seen people do, which is just to play the music. But taking the already interactive feel of the live streaming environment and going a step further and having them contribute, that's really cool. That's what's awesome about it.
I love it. And don't get me wrong, there are people out there that are like making beats and making music with like an electric focus. I say that like MIDI controlled triggered sounds. It's super cool. I mean, it's very cool anytime you get to watch somebody display their creative process, because it's usually such a vulnerable thing. People like to, I don't think people don't share the creative process to that degree for any vulnerability reasons, but I think that it is just inherently such a vulnerable and personal thing that people don't really tend to share it with others unless they are unless those others are people like that are a part of their group or something,
the inner
like
circle.
Yeah, so yeah, I don't know, man. I'm so that's the end goal. That's what I would like to see the stream become, but for now I'm just kind of jumping in and recording, and like I've done a couple things where I'm just I have no idea what I'm about to record. I just make a new window in GarageBand and just start recording, and that's the thing we've been streaming the most recently is a country song, and that was how it came about. Was I was screwing with something, and I was just like, God, I'm not feeling this, and then I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna haunch back and play a cheesy country song, and it'll be funny and it won't be serious, and that's fine. And so I'm struggling. I wouldn't say struggling, but I'm tasked with finding direction right now. So yeah, it'll evolve for sure, but it's fun. It's a ton of fun.
So one of the most interesting things about doing this interview, aside from getting to hop on with one of my best friends for 10 years, is that a lot of times whenever I listen to podcasts about streaming, it's usually from somebody that's been doing it for like years, and it's a look back. But I think this is unique in a way that you're just starting. I think you're 2 weeks in.
Yeah,
barely. So, yeah, and I mean, again, and I want to make sure that I'm painting the picture here, because you were already an accomplished and talented musician before this. The thing that is new to you is streaming. What has that been like trying to get to the point of where you're running a stream and learning all the OBS and the equipment and getting to this point?
I think it's really cool to see how difficult this really is. because just not to, this will come off, this possibly could come off as presumptuous or something, but I never really got into streaming. I've been fully supporting you for 3 years in your endeavor, because I think you're creative as hell, and you've kind of started to realize it in the last 3 years. You realize how good you are at the things you apply yourself to. So I fully
Thank you, by
supported
the
you
way.
this entire. You're welcome. Suck on it. um, no, I fully supported you, but I mean, that's not what we weren't friends. Like, we didn't bond over um the low hanging fruit of streaming. Like, we didn't bond over video games. Like, we always did some fun stuff where we were like, hey, let's play a video game together. But like, I'm not a big gamer really.
And really, like, anytime that we would get together for quote unquote games, the event around the game is what we latched onto.
Right.
Our infamous $150 barbecue
Jeez.
night.
Yeah.
We're just going to jump into that. And then we started trying to do some YouTube stuff. And we ended up spending more time recording live footage than we did any video game stuff.
Yeah,
I just wanted to throw that in there. Go ahead and continue.
Well, I mean, it paints a picture. We never bonded over video games, so you started streaming, and like I watched your stream. I was aware of what you were doing in your community, and I didn't maybe know some of the names, but I recognized them when you talked to them, you talked to me about them and stuff like that. So like, here recently, just as I kind of get older and stuff, I'm finding different interests and things like that, and media is evolving, and video games are incredible, and lately, more now than ever, they were like drawing my attention. So I started to watch your stream. Specifically, I got drawn in, which I'm trying not to break away from the main point too much, but
and what a podcast for point. If not for tangents.
Exactly. I just have to make this point. It was super fun. It was so cool to see. Like, I've tried to help you as much as I could and make whatever I could make useful to you. Like, I've tried to be able in your quest to grow your stream. And like, I've been applying things I learned from playing music for so long, for being in a touring professional band for that long. I'm not now, by the way, for anybody who's unfamiliar with that. But I was in a professional band for a long time. It's a weird way to say that, but I was a touring musician for a while.
Right.
And so I was always applying those things that I learned, me and the guys that were in the band, like, building it from the ground up. And so I was kind of like applying everything, like my perspective of what you should do with your stream. So it was super interesting that I had been thinking all these years of how you could level up and like what I could suggest. And then I got, like, Red Dead Redemption came out, and then you started streaming it, and I was like, you know what, I have a 4-hour ride in the car home. I'm just gonna pop in Trey's stream and just see how, like, I just want to see what's going on. I've never sat in a stream from start to finish, and so I jumped in, had like a blast of a time. Thought it was super funny. Still pissed you don't stream the game anymore. But yeah, so like, I naturally got drawn. It was super cool. Basically, to have been like approaching it from one side of being your friend and supporting you so endlessly, unconditionally, is a better word, and then being like in a polar sense drawn to your stream organically. Like, it was super cool to see, because I was finding myself, it's like, that's the best market research ever. Like, I'm drawn to your stream, but I also am in this other side of, like, I know your analytics behind it, and I know what we've done to like make it better and level it up and stuff. And so it's just super cool. Like, it was a very neat way to like view your stream and kind of come into streaming as a whole. Because I've been, hyper aware of streaming because of you and the medium that it is. And so, fast forward now through that, I'm paying attention to other streamers and other content creators that are choosing this format now. And so I knew it was hard. Like, what I was getting to originally is that I knew streaming is difficult, in the sense that if you've tried it, you, like, I watch you stream, and I always thought, like, from an outsider before I got drawn to it, I was like, this is just how good Trey is. You know, he's finally listened to somebody other than himself, and like taken the chance and really like dove in. And then I was like, so Trey makes it look easy, but that's because Trey is Trey. And then I secondarily learned that, well, yeah, Trey's good, but this shit's hard, and he just had to get better. Like, because you have gotten better. You know, you started good, and then you just have leveled up so far that it's just like, it's second nature to you. So that was really, I guess, illuminating. Was I was thinking when I went in, I was like, well, I know what Trey does, so I'm just going to try my best to do Trey's stream. And then, not your stream, I wasn't going to rip you off, but like the way you engage chat, the way you make eye contact, the little like psychological things of your personality that kind of bleed out through your stream. I was just like, I'm going to mirror that. And then I started doing it. I was like, holy crap, this is so hard, So really, I guess to jump back to the original question, which was like, what is streaming like for someone who's totally green? Like, I think I went a little further and basically painted the picture of how I'm new to the format in general. Like, I didn't watch people stream before I decided to do it myself. I watched you stream, and then I only recently got into it as a consumer and not as somebody who supports you. So that, all that being said, the psychology of it is crazy. I mean, like you like, personally, I feel like I'm talking to a wall when I'm doing it, because I'm trying to ignore viewer count, which I'll get to in a second. But
well, I want to touch on that, because like, I feel that, like, I think one of the things that a lot of veteran streamers take for granted is that initial hump of getting past there being nobody in chat. And like, even like when I made the switch from Twitch to Mixer, I was incredibly worried that that's what I was going to have to revisit, because I mean, I'd already established a community on Twitch. I was going to have to reestablish one on Mixer, and I was like bracing myself for that. And I mean, I was fortunate enough that wasn't the case, but it just brought me back to those days of just trying to spark conversations from nowhere. And there's been times where people are like, well, I don't get it, how do you do it when no one's there? And it's just, I don't know, like, that's a talent that you kind of develop along the way. Because I remember like those first 3 months when it was just like solo me. I mean, it was like 3 hours of nothing.
Yeah, and it's wild. Like, it's just strange to like, on the other side of that. Excuse me, sorry.
No, you're good.
This we're drinking whiskey, and it's I took a sip a second ago that just was fire all the way down. So I know you can see me and no one else can, but I've like been moving all over to not make noise in the mic. But yeah, so that was the weirdest. The weirdest part was, or it not was, it still is, just trying to be engaging, while simultaneously not being sure if the one or two people that are lurking are even listening. Like, I don't. It's strange because people can, in a like a variety stream like yours, your color that you bring to the game is great, and the game itself is also something people want to watch. So there's a lot to entertain yourself with, even if it's just background noise. With what I'm doing, the uniqueness of it is that there is the small spots in which I play back what I've just recorded, but you're hearing, like, you're hearing a dude sit and record stuff and then complain about how badly he played it, and then going back and recording it again. And so I'm like, do people want to lurk on this? Like, do people want to stay and hear this in the background, or are they engaged, or like what what's going on? Because the view count it's both important and unimportant, because you shouldn't let it get in your head. I know I've seen enough in 2 weeks to know that. But
I mean, it's a slippery slope. I mean, I've talked to other streamer friends before, and this is usually what I always say, and not to say that this is exactly what you're going through, but I feel like among streamers there's usually this kind of general theme of, I don't know, being self-conscious, maybe have low self-esteem. Like, that's what draws people to this introverted yet social environment. And
Yep.
for me personally, having low self-esteem, for the first time in my life, like I have quantifiable data whether somebody likes me, and that is the view count. But the flip side of it, and the slide that you can't get hung up on, is that it's also bullshit. Like, it's not a measurement of your value, it's a
Yeah.
measurement of your strategy. And like
Yep.
trying to figure that out in those first 3 months, especially if you're coming like cold, is really difficult. And that's why I'm already like excited about you, and I know that you'll get past the 3 month hump, is because you're already talking about the viewer experience and viewing it through their lens. That's something that takes a long time for people to kind of figure out when they get started.
Yeah. And um I mean, I'm fortunate enough that I'll call it fortune, but the guys that I was in a band with for so long, we busted our asses. We grinded and we did tours on door deals and Little Caesars Pizza and a place to stay. Like we started, and that's not to say we like became this astronomical force of music, but we started from nowhere. And when the band kind of naturally ended, we were at the point of having, like, we were signed to a label. We had agency representation. We had an agent, negotiating deals for us and stuff. But that's what's kind of interesting is, um, I don't presume to know what I'm doing in this new medium. I mean, I'm doing my best to respect Mixer, to respect Twitch, to respect this new format of content delivery for what it is. And I am a green and square amateur in this realm of people who have been putting in their dues, and they know the game. But what's unique is I've been there in the music scene. I mean, I've played shows to the other bands that we're on tour with. I've played shows to the sound guy. Um, I have had to carry banter on stage as the vocalist of the band to nobody. So it's unique in that this feels like being 19 all over again. Like, it feels like doing that again. Um, but what's cool about it to me is, like, for one, that's exhilarating. Like that, you really start to, like, when you're crashing and burning, excuse me, on stage, and you don't know what you're gonna say, who you're trying to entertain. You don't even know if anybody's paying attention to you. You start to figure out what you can do, like in a pinch, and you start to figure out like how quickly you can think on your feet. And I don't know, like I learned invaluable invaluable lessons from that I'm taking and applying here. Um, and that is that sets the tone that you're going to come to my stream and like see a guy who's charismatic and has it figured out, because that's we're probably pretty far from that. There's still some awkward gaps. There's still some times when I'm just kind of like stumbling through some technical issues or something. And man, it's just the more I think about it, the more I think about the question of what's this like to come in new. I could give you so many different things about it because it's overwhelming. Like that's the biggest takeaway that I could probably point out is like, um, it is overwhelming. You're trusting your equipment, and you're trusting um, what you're putting out on the fly,
Mm-hmm.
so that's scary. You're trusting your ability to kind of talk yourself out of a hole and keep yourself entertained and keep everybody else entertained. And so there's a lot of factors that I think can color your performance, I guess, as a streamer. Which, now that I've said what I've noticed, my biggest thing that I'm trying to just remember is just have fun. Like, don't put too much stock in it.
Mm-hmm.
If you're streaming, I mean, if you're gonna stream to people, you need to be you either need to be damn good at what you're streaming or entertaining, or both. And that's just like my opinion is, if you're streaming and you want to retain an audience, you have to have something for that audience to want. And either it's Fortnite and you're incredible at it and you're number one every time and people just love to watch your strategy and they don't care that you're talking because they're watching you just be a professional, and that's great. Those have their place, certainly, of course. And then there are streams like yours which are entertaining. And I'll be completely honest. Personally, I could care less about 50% of the games you play. I hate platformers. I'm just gonna say it right now. I don't like platformers, but I like watching you play them. And like to drive that point home, you were playing Super Meat Boy the other day, and you you were playing like super cautiously, and then like this is like the psychological parts of your personality coming out. Like you were playing real cautious and stuff, and then you were like, you know what? If I die one more time, I'm just gonna go for it, and I'm just gonna let muscle memory take over. And you did, and then you started to be really good, and it was just cool to watch. You know, I was like, I hate platformers. I don't have any interest in playing them, but I enjoyed watching you play it, and it's because of the personality behind the stream. So you know, you're entertaining, and there's all like I feel like to sum up streaming, to be entertaining or be good at what you do is probably a cheap shot. I don't think that that's totally the case. It's a new format. You know, there's no answers. I don't think there's some very creative solutions, but I don't think that there is a definite theory of how to stream correctly. You know,
and that's I think what is most exciting about it, because I remember in that like first year, and you can back me up on this, how many times I would text you excited and just like exclaim, I feel like somebody has given me a time machine and I have gone back before YouTube exploded. Like,
yeah,
that's what streaming feels like. We are paving the way. Like nobody has a set guideline on how to do it. And even more so with you in music, because Mixer, I want to see if you back me up on this, because I described it to somebody the other day, where obviously everybody knows what Twitch is. Twitch is kind of the established platform. But you know how when you're like looking off into space, into these like different celestial bodies, and the light that travels to you and what you actually see is, you know, hundreds of millions of light years different, because that's how long it took for the light to get to us.
Sure.
Mixer is Twitch's light from space, because we were watching it kind of take the similar path that Twitch took to get to where it is now, and we are paving that pace now. Like Mixer's, you know, people are starting to know what Mixer is. It's got its set like competitive shooters and battle royales and whatnot, and I would even say that it has variety. We're just trying to change that perception of it not. It's an even harder for the music scene, because I think you and I talked about this. We could like, I think, count on our hand the 3 or 4 people that we know that are playing music in that category.
Right.
And so it's really interesting to see you come in and try and help build that up as well. You know, and kind of like putting your own spin on things that have been established.
Yeah, and I mean, that's where I'm walking this fine line. I think I am a good example of how terrifying it is to start your own stream. And that's not to say that you should be terrified to start your own stream. Every good experience worth seeking out is going to scare you. You know, everything worth doing, in my opinion, is going to be a little bit terrifying. But that's the nature of exposing vulnerability. That's the nature of putting yourself out there and not laughing it off, and not hiding your actual emotion behind a joke or whatever. You know, that was way heavier than I wanted it to be. But I mean, I feel like I can, you know, that's the best way to equate it is when you say like, you know, no bullshit, I'm putting out what I want, and I'm doing it without trying to emulate anything else. I don't want to be my version of this. I'm putting out what I want. That's terrifying. Like that's truly terrifying, because what if no one likes it? You know, I mean, what if it exposes something that you didn't want put out there? That's scary. But that's not to say it's not worth doing, you know? So yeah, it's pretty scary, and it's weird, and it's like, I immediately was like, you know, what equipment do I need to buy to level up, and what do I need to do to get people to pay attention to me? So I'm falling through those logical fallacies of how to make the stream better. Like I think to my next point, I think that I'm hitting all of those logical steps that people would hit when they're trying to start a new stream. Like, well, no one's watching, so maybe my equipment's not good enough, or no one's watching maybe because I'm not funny enough, or maybe they're not watching because I'm not good enough at the game I'm playing. game loosely used here because I'm not playing any games,
Right.
but I'm hitting all those pieces, but I am uniquely able to step back and look at those things and think this is just like starting a band. Like this is just like whenever I started, or we started a band and started putting out music and like just trying to gain exposure and trying to both market ourselves and stumble through the process of all of this. And so that's where maybe that's where I go is I have kind of curated some marketing prowess and networking prowess, and I've fallen on my face so many times that I'm not scared of that part. I'm really truthfully like I'm not gonna sign off and then like stare wide-eyed at my ceiling when I go lay down. I've failed too many times to let that get to me.
Mm-hmm.
But pushing that aside, I can look at what I'm doing now versus what's similar to what I've done in the past and kind of like guide myself through it. And then of course I have you who is a 3-year veteran and a 3-year established veteran making a name for yourself. That's nice. I can see what you did and see what we did that worked for you.
Mm-hmm.
And just to stop what I'm saying for a second, I say what we did. You have done. You have built your stream. I have not built your stream with you. And that's exactly what I wanted it to be whenever I offer any assistance to you. I don't that's what I wanted for you years ago, 5-6 years ago, when I was doing what I was doing with music. I wanted you to be doing those things too, and I didn't want to do them for you.
Mm-hmm.
So I never did. I don't, I think that I kind of brushed up real close with it when we were trying to do One Night Gamers.
Mm-hmm.
I was trying to, it was an area you were really good at. You're much better at knowing the scene of the gaming industry than I am. But I could carry in my expertise and what I thought at the time was my expertise, at least.
Well, I mean, I always, whenever, we get on the subject of how the tap started and everything, I've always credited you with teaching me a lot of what I know about professionalism and the drive. Because to put it back at that time, I was watching what you were doing with music and just being like, God damn, like, yeah, I'm going to emulate this guy and take my interests and see what he's doing and try and replicate that.
Yeah, and so I now have 2 points to make. So the point I was making is if I say we, I'm only referring to times that you've enlisted my offer of help.
If you get to make that point, I want to go ahead and say, I want to go ahead for the record and apply a thank you now and a future thank you once you start complimenting me, because I feel bad like wanting to interrupt you and say thank you.
Yes.
But I don't want to also sound like I'm sitting here just nodding my head like, yes, go on. Tell me more.
Yeah, no. This is that's fine. Your thank you is
okay.
Going to extend into perpetuity.
Because you really are. It's very humbling to hear you compliment what I do. You texted me the other day too about how I can't remember how you worded it. Basically, you were equating what I'm doing with the stream to what you were doing with the band. And that meant the world to me, because like watching, and again, going back to saying, what I was watching you do with music and trying to emulate that, 3 years later, to have you come around it and like compliment that felt good. So I want to make sure that I also say thank you for that.
I mean, that's the point I was about to make is, again, to reinforce was, one, all I ever wanted to do was provide you with tools to elevate yourself, but I don't want to slap you in the face and tell you what you should be doing.
Mm-hmm.
And to your credit, it worked, because you have done some really impressive stuff, and it's funny, like I always told you, like, you need to make a podcast. You need to be uploading clips to YouTube. You need to be doing, I know that I always had some annoying little thing to say, like, I think you should try this. And now that I'm on this side of it, and I'm thinking about like, why would I ask him to do that? This is so much work. Like, this is already so hard. Why would I ask him to? It's so fun. It's funny like how much I thought I knew and how much I actually know about it.
And what I want to say, and because I keep hammering this point home, because I think the way that this is kind of naturally giving itself, that now that this podcast is starting to find its voice, is that I mean, it's called Streamer Stories, and my hope is that people who are either, you know, getting started or have been listening to it or have been streaming for a while, the point I want to hammer home is I don't think people understand that the actual streaming part is the reward. And I'm not trying to undercut you by saying that, but the amount of work that goes in behind the scenes before you even hit live, like nobody pays attention to how much goes into that. And it's not ignorance, it's just learning to step into that water for the first time and then getting a full glimpse of like, oh, damn, there is a lot more to this.
I mean, hearing you say that, I immediately wanted to go to. I think that both video games and the idea of sitting and watching somebody play a video game has some negative connotations because of, you know, I mean, I'm not going to get into it, but everybody probably has an anecdote about how people generally feel about both trying to make it as a gamer and sitting and watching video games all day, you know. So
it's this negative thing that gets looked down upon. Like gaming is just now getting to the point where it's a lot more respected than it used to be, because it was always just like, children play video games, it's a time waster thing. And I mean, we're starting to see games tackle heavy themes in their stories and present themselves in much more mature fashion. Or even in the case of Fortnite, the most immature game I think I could think of right now. Yes, it's immature in the gameplay, but think about what it's doing culturally and bringing people together. And
absolutely,
no matter how much we can say get off our lawn and say all these kids that are doing the Fortnite dances and viral videos, I mean, that is like a amazing common denominator for so many people. Like gaming is finally starting to get respected, and I think going hand in hand with streaming, I mean, it's going to follow suit soon.
I mean, computers weren't respected when they came out. You know, I mean, when the personal computer was thought of as a business tool, it wasn't adopted quickly. You know, I mean, that didn't happen in one night. But I mean, we come to a screeching halt as a society whenever these weird, you know, whirring boxes start to fail. So, and that's a super simplistic way of saying the format had to take its foothold, and gaming has taken its foothold. Gaming, you know, video games as a medium, I think were pretty well established before streaming came along. You know, like I think that there's a, I don't know. There's a definitely, like, they're viewed as a luxury and a time sink and stuff like that. And like I said, I'm not going to get into the generational disparity of those things, but I think for the most part, you know, that colors how people think going in. And this is where I tie it back into the point you made about people just don't see the work behind the stream. I think whether you think about it or not, you're still affected mentally. You know, your psychology around streaming is probably somewhat colored by these outside perceptions of video games and streaming and watching content creators stream. So, you know, it's almost like, in my opinion, natural and okay, and I forgive people for looking at a stream and thinking that's not hard, I can do that. And then they start to do it and they're like, oh shit, like this is hard, you know. But the point I really wanted to make, like what saying that is, I mean, that's like forget what you're doing, you know. It doesn't matter, like if you want to stream and if you want to stream Fortnite all day, do it, you know. Be responsible about it. Don't quit your job and you know, stagnate as a result. There's ways to be responsible about everything. But if you want to stream and you think, oh, this isn't, you know, this is just me having fun, but you really want to do it, then go do it, because behind that, the hard work that you're going to see and discover it doesn't matter that it came to you through streaming. You're still learning so
Mm-hmm.
much by, like, let's I'm going to make you as an example. I saw like the creative talent that you had, and I think you always knew it was there too, but you didn't really know how to package it, and you never knew how to attach a voice to it.
And I want to make
And
a little like note here to kind of like give some context to this, because like when you and I started becoming friends, and I'm being open.
The internet wasn't invented yet.
No, when you and I were starting to be friends, like I'm being vulnerable here. I was in a really low place. Like I never got diagnosed or anything, and I don't want to try and throw around terms because I mean that kind of undercuts other people. But I was at a really low place, and like self-confidence was lower than it is now. So to talk about what I'm doing now versus when we were first started being friends, it's a night and day difference.
Yeah, I mean, I agree.
And go ahead. I mean, there's nothing you could say that would be like
no.
I
Well,
recognize
I'm
it.
still making an example of you, whether or not you want me to. So, but the example I was making was you know, as a person that I like really care about, I wanted you to be able to seek out the things you want, and your want for them was very fortunately um, paired with the fact that you're just good. You're good at what you do. You have talent, but you also above that you have an analytical approach to the things that you do, and I've never seen you half-ass anything. Um, you have to find how to connect that, and so that's what you've been doing, and that's what, for one, I could never tell you what you needed to do because I would be a liar to say I knew all along. That's not true. I've been growing as a person right alongside you. But like in the balance of where we both were individually, I was in a different creative step than you were, and I knew where you could be, and I thought, this is like a real deal kind of thing. He needs to have his platform, whatever it might be. So all that to say, you figured out what work needed to be put in, and you have learned. And I've been telling you this lately, and I truly mean it. Like, the things you do have real career weight to them. The things that you have learned as a streamer, as a content creator, like, you are great at what you do, and there are people in this world who would be willing to pay you money to do these things for them. So the point that I've been trying to kind of circle and now hone in on is it doesn't really, in my opinion, matter um, what the delivery is or what the end goal for you is. If you want to stream, but you feel like it's not worth, you feel like it's maybe colored negatively by some outside um, perspective or whatever, do it, because you're learning things that are real, valuable, lifelong things that you can carry with you and apply to other areas. I mean, playing music was questionable. I didn't go to college. I instead was like, I'm going to start a band, and so we did, and that shit was scary, and I'll skip through all of that. But
No, I mean, if you want to tell it, because I mean, it's a
well,
really.
I mean, we play music, and instead of going to school, and I there's a lot of mental anguish that comes with making a decision like that. But I didn't want to have to. I listened to my parents and took their support, and they one of the things they drove home was, you don't want to have to ask what if later, and there are going to be what if splits off of the decisions you make as chasing that what if, like, what if I would have kept at it even 10 years later when we decided to hang it up, stuff
Mhm.
like that. um but anyway, I'm glad I did it. I learned things that I don't think college would have taught me,
Mhm.
truthfully. And if just to put a pin in that, if you think, if you want to go to college, go to college. I'm not saying don't go to college, um, but I am saying that if you want something bad enough and you're tenacious enough in pursuit of it, it deserves your time, at least. And so, whenever music was or whenever being in a band was over with for the most part, um, I then felt like I was 10 years late, or at that point in time, 7 years late to the party, basically.
Hmm.
And so uh, I think I lost the point I was making, but I remember sitting in a room on a job interview and thinking it was going well, but my resume was odd, and the the positions I had held that, spoiler alert, were to support me going on tour. So I mean, they were not high paying jobs, they were not glamorous jobs, but they made money. Um, it didn't add up to like the tools and the skill set I was bringing. And so the person that I interviewed with, this terrifying woman who ended up mentoring me later on, which is another story. Um, she was like, she told me later, like, you lost me until you, she had asked me, she is perceptive enough to have seen a gap in my resume and was like, what's the story behind your resume? Cut out the bullshit. What are you telling me right now? What is your story? And so she kind of twisted my arm and got me to start talking about playing music, which I had viewed as a negative thing. I was hanging my head and I was like, all right, time to go into the coal mines now, and she twisted my arm and got it out of me. And I had always looked at it as like, not a failure, but I was like, I'm late to the party and I feel like I might have possibly wasted a couple shots or something like that. And so um, she loves to tell me now that that was the point where she decided that she actually did want to give me the job. And it was a very fortunate position to get. And it is elevated. It propelled me into um, I guess an environment and a achievement that kind of helps people pay attention to me.
Hmm.
Um, and I did it without going to college. And that's also something that I love to hang my hat on, is that I'm I'm doing the work that my colleagues went to school and paid a lot of money for. I'm doing it, and I'm doing it better in some cases than them. And that's not a pride thing. That is directly from the hard work and the lessons and the failure that I learned from trying to play music. So,
Um,
I don't care if it's being in a band, I don't care if it's streaming, I don't care if it's, you want to carve things out of wood and sell them on the side of the road. Um, Breaking over that hump and making it work for you is hard work, and that is, it takes learning to do that. And those are, with the right, with the right open-minded approach, those are strong lessons to learn, and they did a lot of good for me. So this my intent was not to be like, you should stream and it's going to make you a better person, but I genuinely think that if you put the work in and you want it enough and you don't give up whenever it feels natural to give up, you will learn you will be learning real life valuable lessons. And yeah, I don't know, I mean, that's a I'm gonna quietly hop off my soapbox now, but
well, okay. First point, I do want to say I'm so glad that you included that story about you not getting the job until you mentioned that you were in a band. Like, that's one of my favorite stories about you, and I was afraid that that would be lost in the lost episode. And I have nothing else to add. I'm just really glad that got in there. Um, and I had a second point that just got lost to me.
Uh-oh.
I know. Oh, this is what I was gonna say. I wanted to add on to your point about the whole college thing, because I dropped out of college too, and that was a really hard moment for me. I remember the day that I like was getting ready to go to the college to drop out, and I like collapsed on the floor. I'm not trying to be dramatic, but like, I just, because I mean, everything I had learned up until that point was go to school, go to college, get a job, and that was the blueprint. And so me like pushing that blueprint away it felt like I was just kind of giving up on everything, and it hurt. But what it's taken me so long to finally realize, and what I would say these last 3 years of streaming has finally awakened in me, and what I think you have always known since I've known you, is that there's nothing that can teach you the value in learning. And you've always had that value in learning, because everything you've done, you take it from being new to being an expert in no time, because you devour that information. And I think that was the work ethic and the drive that person that was interviewing you saw. And that's what's been like elevating you past these points. So I just wanted to make sure that I was like just hammering in that point, because I think that's really cool. Being your friend and seeing that story arc on you, because I know that it weighed on you too. And so like seeing that story arc and watching you evolve has been a really cool process.
It's nice to hear that, you know, kind of like thrown back at me. But that's so I don't think that this is going to sound preachy, and I don't mean it to be. That's not a trait that is just something that I am gifted with.
Mm-hmm.
That is, in my opinion, very much a learnable trait.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think that the thing that really stops people from diving into something is not a match. It's not a lack of intelligence. It's not a lack of this like certain like je ne sais quoi. I hate that I just said that. The worst thing in the world. But you're not lacking some intangible thing that you just don't know. It's the fact that it's just be present and be, you know, if it's worth a portion of your interest, it is. If it's worth, you know, the excitement that it pulls from you, it's worth learning.
Mm-hmm.
And it's worth diving into, and it's worth being present for. You know, I don't know, like to me, I never really wanted to be the kind of person that jumped from thing to thing. Mm-hmm. I don't want to, you know, if I tell somebody that I'm going to get into streaming and then 2 months later they're like, well, what do you do with that stream deck now that you're not streaming anymore, buddy? You know, I'm like, I don't want those weird conversations. And so, I know that if I'm going to attach, it means something to me that people, I don't know. It sounds weird when I say it out loud. It means something to me that people respect what I want to do as much as I respect wanting to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And that honestly is directly affected by making such a bold decision to say, you know, screw college, I'm going to play music.
Mm-hmm.
But that's, you know, I think that's exactly where it comes from. I was like, well, everyone else thinks this is a stupid idea, so I'm going to think it's a good idea, because it's going to start with me, and then it's going to affect how people view it. And like, for sure, people were like, you're 20 and you're in a band, you're 22 and you're in a band, like, you know, what's that about? But, you know, I was like, yeah, I'm 22, I'm in a band, but we're signed, and you know, I played a festival at Taking Back Sunday headlined, and, you know, just stuff like that. Like, it's not about the pride of it, but, you know, I was like, I get how you know, I get the perception you have, mm-hmm. but here's where I took it, you know, and that's more important to me than it's not more important to me. That is important to me. It's not more important than anything. That just is an important thing. And so, I guess I'm saying, you know, if it's important to you and it's something that you would want others to respect, you need to approach it with respect. Mm-hmm. You know, if you want people to respect you as a streamer, for whatever connotation that has in the real world, it doesn't really matter, because if you want to say that and command respect with it, then you need to respect how you're going to approach it. And that's where I think, you know, I'm just like, I need to know everything about this. I need to know what makes me bad, and I need to know what makes me better. I care about the constructive criticism. It's great to know that you enjoyed it, but what did you not like about it? Mm-hmm. You know, how can I be better? How can it's just, I mean, you only have one shot at life, so do it with respect to yourself. I mean, you start with you, you live with you, and you end with you. So why wouldn't you do everything with 100% effort?
Right.
And so, you know, like I said, that's not something that's just some higher power gift. It's
well, I want to, okay, I'm starting to get self-conscious about what I said real quick. I want to make sure that I didn't say that it can't.
You didn't. You absolutely didn't.
Okay, because I was going to say, I was making an observation that I thought that that's what I've always admired by you. My point was that it can't be taught. It has to come from within, like that desire. Right, I want to make sure that I was just saying so, that. I didn't want to undercut you.
I fully understand what you were getting at. But I'm looking, you know, people like just to remember what we're talking about here is someone who's never streamed before. You know, in the first few weeks trying to get it. And I feel like it would be easy for somebody who's listening to all of this talk, both negative and positive, to get to the point where it's like, oh, this dude's just really talented, and it's not the case.
Right.
Like that's not it. No, I have worked hard and I have failed, and I have, I don't like to puff up and talk. I don't like having oh my God, I don't like having an ego, and I tend to think I don't have a big ego. Says the guy with the big ego. But
no, I mean, I have one dangerously as well. I do the same, where I just try and downplay it as much as I can.
Yeah, that's exactly what I do too. But I mean, like, ego's not bad, man. I mean, like, that's like, I feel like there's a comfortable level. You respect yourself, and you learn with respect. You grow with respect, and you focus it back to yourself in a way that's not overinflating your ego, but it is accurately respecting how much it means to you, to what you truly want. Because the odds of making money as a streamer, the odds of having a career as a streamer are slim.
Yeah,
but
I think I read a stat somewhere that said something like you have a higher chance of going to the NFL than becoming a streamer.
And yeah, I would, that sounds about right.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, I don't think that's what it's about.
Mm-hmm.
Because like here's my thought is, playing music taught me a whole bunch of secondary and tertiary, I guess, skills, just these second and third level things I picked up to influence the core thing, which was being a musician and being in a successful band. But I found out along the way, like, all of these things that I'm learning, shit, I'm actually kind of good at designing stuff. I'm actually kind of good at at taking a problem and really figuring it out, and figuring out how to make everything better surrounding it, how to solve, like, I picked up a bunch of skills that I get paid decent money for now. And, granted, I'm not playing music full time. I'm not touring, and I'm not, I wouldn't say that I love my job day in and day out, but, I mean, I can sit on the other side of a table in an interview and be confident that what I have is worth listening to, and what I bring to the table is backed by success and backed by failures.
Mm-hmm.
And more importantly, learning from those failures. But the point I'm making is, it might seem crazy, it might seem weird, but you'll learn things that you might not have learned otherwise. I mean, you'll pick up skills that are valuable, and you'll know yourself more truly, I think, by actually going out and failing, and then watching yourself, kind of following that mantra of just keep plugging, just keep working, just learn some more, do it better next time. Like, yeah, I failed, but like, fuck that. I know that I failed, and I'm cool with it. I failed before. I'm going to just do it better the next time. Like, learning how to stand back up is the key. And it's the same thing our parents and our grandparents and their parents have said all these years is, just being persistent and being bold and all of that. I don't know. I think we're a weird generation, and the generation after us and the one even before us, we're like, it's strange, the world we're growing up in, but that doesn't mean that none of it has value. And that doesn't mean that, like, streaming as a whole is not worth pursuing, because, like, it's clearly a force to be reckoned with.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's the right way to say that. Maybe I said that phrase wrong, but I mean, obviously, like, if streaming were as stupid as some people might think it is, then why are these people flocking to a website and taking in this format this way?
Mm-hmm.
Why isn't television still the main thing? And I get that we still take in our format, or we take in our entertainment by television and by movie, but or film, whatever. But the point being is, cable's dying, and
Right.
streaming is, like, streaming services are taking over, who's to say that content creation via Mixer is not the next realm?
Well, I mean, I've
You know?
even had people tell me that because we got on the subject about how like The Office becomes people's background noise. I mean, I've had people tell me that I've become The Office for them. Like that's like
Yeah,
my
yes.
stream and having that interconnectivity and community feel. I mean, there's no TV show you can write that will replace having somebody that can talk back to you and like ask you how your day is, kind of thing.
Look, I love The Office. That's my favorite
Mm-hmm.
television show of all time. If I could watch The Office, if I could binge The Office and actually interact with Michael Scott, holy shit, I would pay half of my salary to do that. You know,
Mm-hmm.
like that's I would give money to do that.
Right.
And just from like a consumer point of view, um, the technical, like just how technology has evolved has kind of enabled us to do what we have all now coined as binging.
Mm-hmm.
And just like look at it from a like a rational, simplistic consumer point of view. We've ramped up from taking in television 1 week at a time to now taking it in, uh, you
Seasons at a
know,
time.
seasons at a time, 3 days at a time. And now, you know, we haven't maybe bridged the gap from binging the Orville or binging, you know, Black Mirror or something to uh, streaming stuff in real time. But like look at what we just visualized. Like we visualized a clear growth from what we would consider almost outdated and outmoded to the present, and that is we are taking in content at an astounding rate. And it's the status quo. I will go and sit and binge. I'm watching Letterkenny right now on Hulu, and oh my god, it's hilarious. And it's like people are or I at least am, I feel like I'm connecting with the writer on a more personal level. Like I am seeing their vision, not in 1 week, you know, 1 day at a time, every other week intake, but all at once. And I'm connecting with it better. And like that's so weirdly pure. And we know what's happened before. We know the path that took us to this point today. So, you know, like what's next? If we think that that streaming is next, like watching live television or watching live content could honestly become the next way to quote unquote binge, you
Mm-hmm.
know. And I think it already is. It's very clear that it's already popular, you know.
Right.
And I think it's it's again viewed under that whole like video game, like, oh, you're watching video games all day, you know. But like, yeah, I am, but also I can watch a dude make a table out of wood in his workshop for 6 hours if I want to. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I can watch a person make pottery. I can watch somebody bake. um Binging with Babish does, what is it called, he does basics with Babish, and he like makes a video, and then every other certain day, I don't really know, he does it live and people can interact with them. And it's
Right.
like how like nobody has ever experienced that. You know, like it used to be a big deal to go to Ellen or go see Oprah live or something like that. You know, like you had to work your way up to being able to even get in the same room with these people that you loved and watched on television every week. And now you can sit on your computer and talk to them, and they can say your name, and it's coming right back at you, and it's exciting. And it's like what you say affects the next course of this conversation. It's
Right.
like you have a million different possibilities all in front of you. And it's
Well,
like it's crazy. It's just it's insane.
you've kind of like put into context something that I had never thought of. But I remember when Twitter first came around, how exciting it was to see like all these big name, you know, celebrity status people be on there, and you could send them something and maybe they
Yeah.
didn't respond to it, but you knew they saw it. I mean, streaming is just kind
Yes.
of like that next step. Regardless, the people that are streaming now, I wouldn't say are like the huge names, but they're becoming huge names. Like imagine how many people know Ninja now, or
Yeah. Jack Black just started a gaming channel.
yeah.
He's, I don't know that he's streaming games yet, but I mean he's working his way there. I'm pretty sure.
Mm-hmm.
He started a YouTube channel. So
I mean, people are moving to this like, I want to say one-on-one, but it's not one-on-one because obviously there are more people that watch the chat, but it feels like it's a one-on-one experience.
it does. It absolutely does. And I think that like what we're both kind of saying in different ways is like, I mean, it's about to be excuse me, our time I mean, we're in the prime renaissance of both streaming and our, I guess, generational growth. And we've grown up in the internet, and now we're trying to figure out, you know, the internet's great, but it's also like technology is great, but it's also kind of screwing us out of some work, you know? So it's changing the market. It's changing how we make our money. It's changing how we achieve our livelihood and all of these weird things. And so
It's like weird growing pains.
it is, yeah. And I like, I'm trying to not say what I'm about to say, but I'm just going to say it and hope that nobody cares that I'm not trying to sound like I know what I'm talking about. But I genuinely think like if people are wanting to consume this and you're wanting to do it, if you're wanting to create this and people are wanting to consume it, you already have your market and you already have your demand. So there will be a way, there already is a way to monetize it. People are making money off of it right now. Now there's always the problem of saturation. There's always the problem of supply and demand. It's typical capitalist marketing at that, or market at that point. You know, you need to learn how to cater to supply and demand and carve out your market and all of that cool stuff. But learn, you know, I mean, approach it with respect. That's exactly what I was saying earlier. You know, I mean, if you want it bad enough and you feel that you can really sit at the table and slam your hand down and have people pay attention to you, then respect it enough to learn it the right way. You know, like learn it and make it work for you, because we've already proven that we want it. Everybody has already proven that this is a format of delivery that is worth exploring. And I think people like Jack Black and people, it's surprising to me that more companies haven't decided to take the plunge.
Well, we're already seeing it because I mean, like Wendy's has their own streaming channel on Twitch,
yeah,
and they're doing like co-streams. What is it? Not A&W, is it? Or Arby's? Arby's has their own like gaming Twitter thing, and it's like you're seeing them move in on it because I mean that's where the attention is.
Yeah, but I say don't even look at it as a playing video games. I mean, the majority of people who think of streaming are thinking of playing video games, but like take a second, I'm just going to stab this in there. Think of something else that you're good at. Would people want to watch it? Stream it.
Yeah.
I'm not a great songwriter. Like I will tell you right now, I know people who are way more talented than I am, way better at creating a song and you know, I envy those people and their talent. But that's not to say that I don't have something to bring to the table. So, you know, I am so bad at video games just in general, but I'm pretty decent at playing the guitar. So I'm going to just throw some songs together. Like I fully understand that they might not be great and they might not be, you know, they're not going to, I typed up a bio last night and I was on my mixer and I was like, we're not going to win a Grammy, but we're going to have a good time doing it.
That's a great hook.
And I mean, but it's true. Like I will level your expectations. You'll probably come and have more fun talking to me than you will listening to the song.
You are very humble, but I will not try and contradict you.
That's fair. You know what? Then if that's the case, I would love to surprise myself, and I can't wait to surprise other people. But but I mean, I'm still figuring this stuff out, dude. I don't know what I'm doing just yet. But I mean, the point is like there is a little amount of stuff that's remarkable about what I'm doing in terms of talent, in terms of approach. You as a general listener could absolutely do that with whatever it is you feel like you're good at doing. You know, don't restrict it to gaming. If you want to play Red Dead or you want to, you know, like there's this channel I watch every morning while I get ready for work on YouTube. It's this guy who does Red Dead Redemption mysteries, and they're so interesting. And this dude is making these videos about all these, like, he's just exploring the game. He's having a blast doing it. But the way he keeps me engaged while I'm listening and like getting ready in the morning and stuff, like it's just cool. Like he's got this lore that he kind of sticks to, and he ties it into the environment and into the world of the game and stuff. It's just super cool. You know, if you want to do that, do it, that's great. But if you're good at whittling things out of soap, like make a stream about it. And if you think people will watch it, they probably will. Yeah. That's the other great thing about the internet is there's a crowd for everybody. You just have to figure out how to reach them.
Dude, that was whenever I went to RTX, I think it was the second one, somebody said something very similar by the name of Freddie Wong. And it's one of the things that have been guiding me this entire time. But he got on stage and he essentially said, the question is not, is there an audience? It's where's the audience?
Where is absolutely.
Yeah. And that, I mean, hearing that kind of was like one of the small, because again, it took me a while to do anything, but it's one of the small pushes of like trying to get me to do anything. Because like you said, this space isn't limited to gaming. Gaming is the first one to take the plunge, but I mean, we're seeing it. I mean, think about all the streams that you see on Facebook or Instagram Live or Twitter. What is Twitter called? They have a name for it.
I don't know. I just know about Periscope.
Periscope. That's what it is. It's Twitter.
Oh, that's okay. Yeah,
that's Twitter's. Like, I mean, we're seeing it expand in front of our eyes. It's not just limited to doing video games.
Yeah, look at YouTube. Do you remember the videos that were uploaded when YouTube was in its infancy? I mean, we were like, everybody was kind of trying to step up their production. Like, I remember when we were making these stupid videos called Adventures of Timmy when I was like 17.
Mm-hmm.
They were ridiculous, and they're so funny to go back and watch, but not funny because we wrote them well. They're just funny because that we were so weird. But like, you know, like now I consume probably 40% of the content that I consume from YouTube. And that's from like, and this answers so many things, what I'm about to say, and it makes so many points, and I'll try to remember them as I go. But I watch channels from like a guy with a GoPro in his tow truck making repossessions all day to Bon Appetit, like a company that writes blogs, like food blogs, and has an office space in the World Trade Center. And like I make the comparison to say, like I watch the simplest of I'm stuttering because I can't gather my words very well. The simplest of production quality, all the way up to people who make, you know, they make their money doing this. And so the reason I make those examples is because like YouTube has a bunch of people doing a bunch of things on it, and I'm catching all of this weird in between of like, I knew before I got on YouTube that I liked cooking and I liked eating food.
Mm-hmm.
And so naturally I gravitate to watching videos about food. There's this really good person, there's a few people at Bon Appetit that do like gourmet versions of like Oreos and Twinkies and like Twizzlers and stuff, which is just super interesting. And then there's like a dude, I literally watch channels of people repossessing cars all day long. It's a weird, like I never would have, like if you would have said, hey, do you want to sit down and watch a guy repossess cars from his tow truck with me? I'd be like, no, because that sounds strange. But I found it through happenstance and I watched the hell out of it. Like it's weirdly cool. And then I've watched, you know, I watch, there's another channel I just found recently where this guy restores old paintings. I've never considered myself a person who can appreciate physical art that well, but watching someone who's so good at it is intoxicating. Like I just watch it and I'm like glued to it and I can't help it. And I think it's so interesting. And he doesn't even talk much. Like there are videos where he just makes scraping noises as he's cleaning this painting. And it's like, if you'd ever asked me if I wanted to watch a video about, you know, same thing, somebody restoring an old painting, I'd have been like, yeah, it sounds kind of interesting, but maybe one, you know. And now I've watched like tons of them. And so I make the comparison to YouTube to say you can look right now and see where YouTube started and where it currently is. Like forget that they're doing a streaming play, you know, as a force to be reckoned with. As like when you say Ziploc, you think of Ziploc bags, but Ziploc was the first to do it. You know, they became ubiquitous, and now everybody just calls it Ziploc regardless of whether or not it's, you know, their product. It's the same sort of thing. Like YouTube is both a singular thing and it is a verb, and it's, you know, it's just like Google is. But anyway,
I mean, it's like it's become its own search engine. And yeah, anytime I've ever had to describe streaming to people outside of even the video game space, the easiest way I've ever found it is to just say it's YouTube but live. Like,
yes,
yeah.
And you can look at YouTube and you can see where it started, where it's at now. I mean, you have have companies releasing theatrical, film releases on YouTube. And I'm not talking about how you can go watch Forgetting Sarah Marshall on YouTube. I mean, there are people making movies to release them on YouTube, and so there is no playbook that says Mixer or Twitch or Facebook Live or any of these similar deliveries can't do that. And in my opinion, it's Twitch or Mixer. I think I like Twitch because Twitch is the most visible, but I'm Mixer. I tried to Twitch stream once, and granted I could try it again, but when I saw you move to Mixer is when I paid real attention to it. And I'm excited about Mixer. I'm excited about streaming in general, but I'm really excited about Mixer as a platform, because it's like there's already an establishment of what streaming is thanks to Twitch. But usually when you try to go to a secondary platform to gain visibility on the hope that people are going to join, you're sacrificing something, but I just don't think you're sacrificing much on Mixer. Maybe it's a little bit of a barrier of entry. You got to get people to kind of come with you, but I don't know. I think the platform's better. Twitch does some really neat stuff, but I just like Mixer. I think it's sweet. I think it's I don't know why I'm so attached to FTL, but I just am. That's really
because it feels like a more intimate experience. I mean, it feels exactly like what you and I are doing right now on Discord.
Yes,
but with
that
more
half
people.
A second.
Yeah.
Exactly. That half a second makes all the difference in the world to me. It's crazy.
And for me, the way that I view it, and this is hard because after I had made the switch, I hear a lot of my community members voice their complaints, valid complaints, about how the viewing experience has been a lot harder. To me, Mixer's at a point where it seems like it's been crafted for the streamer experience, with the way that Sparks have been implemented, the way that FTL's been there, the customization that they give you on not only your BIOS but the API for your Mixplay board. It's all geared towards being a really great experience for the streamer. If they can catch up and make the viewing experience almost as good as it is on Twitch, like just alone their mobile experience, if they can fix that, I don't know, man. It's going to be really exciting to see where Mixer can go if they can focus in on that stuff.
Yeah, I agree. And we're not talking about some startup. We're talking about Microsoft.
Yeah.
I mean, it's probably, if I had to make a guess, it's an interesting experiment for a company that has damn near bottomless resources.
I mean, we've yet to see Microsoft start flexing their muscle behind it yet. They've just started doing promo for it. I just started seeing advertisements for Mixer. I think it was in December.
And I mean, I know the stream's not about converting people to Mixer, but stream. I know this podcast is not about converting people to Mixer, but I mean, Twitch isn't installed on every Xbox.
Dude, imagine if Microsoft really started flexing it, and on every Windows PC you have just a little Mixer dashboard that shows, hey, here are the top 5 people streaming this. Oh, what's Mixer? And they click in through that.
Yep. I mean, there's a bunch of cool stuff you can do with it. I mean, you could, I don't know, I feel like this is gonna be a weird example, but I'm just gonna make it because I'm into my third glass of whiskey. There are business focused solutions that can be leveraged with the technology, and Microsoft is the king of business solutions. So, I mean, let's just say they find some reason for a company to want to implement a streaming service, and they rebrand it as something else, but it's all built on top of, Mixer. I mean, real-time technical assistance, there's already meeting solutions for companies, but I just feel like if Microsoft leans in a little harder, they're brilliant. They're going to find a way to just explode it. And plus, I don't know what Twitch is built on, but the Azure server, like the Azure platform that Microsoft has, I'm sure they build Mixer on top of some form of it. It's like Amazon's servers, but it's like AWS, I think, but for Microsoft's version. I don't know. You might end up editing this all out. I could be lying right now. That's what I'm pretty sure that Azure is, but
yeah, it is, because I mean
good.
Azure is their streaming and not just in the
like their cloud server
right.
solution.
Thank you. That's the word I was
Yeah.
looking for.
Yeah, and I mean, like, I don't know. I think Mixer has much more, not more potential, but um, it's where I want to put my stream. It's I've definitely decided that I want to be there. And another thing I was gonna say, but I glossed over it because I talked too much, is the very first time I streamed, um, I was incredibly fortunate to hit like number 7 in the music category or something like that, number 8 or something. And I pulled in like 8 views, that like 8 viewers at one point in time. Um, and now I said something briefly about how I went to Twitch and I just didn't care for it. Let's be clear, I streamed the night of the fucking Super Bowl, but but I just, it didn't. No one came. Like, I was a lost voice in a sea of other people. So I don't know. I feel like I know what I need to do to be entertaining, and I know what like tech and what equipment I have that I can leverage to be a little bit better. Because I don't, like, personally, like, my standard, my personal metric of I don't know, performance, I guess, is that I don't want to be the first one to write songs. Like, I don't want to be the first one to do what I'm doing. I want to be the first, or I want to be among the first people to do what I'm doing, but to be like, just on all counts, better. You know, I want to look better. I want to engage better. I want to make it feel like you have every reason to be there and you can't think of an excuse to leave. And that is kind of the same thing of where I made the point earlier of like respecting what you do. I mean, like, it's not going to do you any good to downplay your stream for any reason. Like, why? How are you going to sell somebody? How are you going to pitch and sell somebody on your stream if you're like, it's, I don't know, it's whatever.
Yeah.
You know, I just go on and play video games. It's like, no, like, you like your stream, for example, as the tap stream. You make it a point to tell people, like, I'm not good at games, like, come join, but I suck, you know, like, it's fine. But like, you're engaging, and your consistency of like your designs and your visual, like, you're just, all of it makes this like bigger picture of like, when you go and tell people that you're content creating in real time for other people, and you have all of these amazing community members that just show up and start talking, and it's like you have something to literally hang your hat on. And it's like, why would you ever want to downplay that? Because you respected yourself enough to want to do it. So you should respect that you have done it. And you know, I don't know, it's not, you know, first point is, if you're going to want to stream, do it with vigor, do it with real attempt and real effort. And then the second part is, you know, be proud of it. Be proud of taking a chance on something that is 100% you. And yeah, I don't know. It's,
I mean, have a purpose, I think.
Yeah, exactly. Be, you know, have intent and respect it as such. And I made a point, and I'm going to circle back to it. Your community is I fucking love your community. It's the coolest thing in the world. It's awesome.
I am so fortunate, so cool. Man. They are incredible.
You really, like this. You really are like that's, I don't know why that just feels wrong to say, but I'm gonna say it. Like, be damned, you are fortunate, because you have some of the coolest people that just like show up every night, and I think it's the funniest thing. Like, because I'm starting to watch it. Like, keeping, you know, just a reminder for the podcast, I don't know what I'm doing. I've never watched streams all that much until recently. So I'm starting to watch these other streamers now, and I've always assumed that you are keeping up with the status quo, but I'm kind of seeing how you edge out some of these other like more prolific streamers. And so, like, I'll watch your stream and I'll notice how like the people that are there are not there because you're keeping them there. They're there because they are there with purpose. They are there to like engage you, and it's the coolest thing. And what's funny about it, what I'm getting to, why I'm like laughing as I say it, is because I've never had a better confirmation of like how bad my ADD is than whenever it's trying to watch your stream, because I see it come out of me like while I'm watching you. I'll just start saying these random things, and I don't even think I talk to you just in the course of a day like texting like I do when I'm in your stream. I say these weird things, and they're all random, and it's just to contribute to this like mass conversation that's going on.
Well, I don't think I ever gave much attention to it until this last stream where you said something to the extent of like, if we could just plot the various topics that we had just had in this stream, it would be amazing. And I've never thought about it.
It's so funny. It's hilarious to me.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. That's so special. It's
really,
it's such a pure thing.
I can't thank them enough, and I know eventually if I keep saying that, then it starts to lose its meaning. But yeah, I am so incredibly fortunate to have found the people that
it's contextual. I don't think that it would lose its meaning. These people know you. I mean, you've been apologizing for yourself for years.
My bio on Twitter is something to the extent of like, one day I woke up painfully aware of my existence, and I've been apologizing for it since. Like, that is me in a nutshell.
God, is it?
Oh man,
Jesus, it's so funny. Yeah, man, I don't know. I'm excited for, if I said something earlier about how like I don't want to say I'm streaming and then like not be streaming a few months later. Like I have full intent to stick with this. Maybe I do. I'm going to do my best to stick with it. Maybe in a year I'm not. I hope I am. But I don't have an end goal. And that's what's weird is I had an end goal with music. It was like to be famous and like tour and all that stuff. But like I genuinely don't have any interest.
I don't think you can with a stream because it's such an iterative process.
So yes, it's really cool.
Because one of the question somebody asked me was like, what are you gonna do when you hit 1,000 followers? And I just jokingly said, I don't know, quit. But I mean, it's like it's this idea where everybody is chasing these follow numbers, but there is no end goal. Like, I'm not gonna hit a certain number of followers and think, well, we did it, guys, I'm done. Like, it's you just keep going. The buzzer
goes off.
Right. Yeah. And it's because I mean, I'll see people that will say like, oh man, I'm surprised you don't have this or that, and it's like, because I'm not focused on that. Like, this is more than any end goal. This is I'm going to be a little cheesy here because I too am 3 glasses in. I mean, it's just a lifestyle.
Yep. I would agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
And more to it, like, so just to go back one more time to like the things you're learning while you're doing it. Like, yeah, you're having fun, you're streaming, you're getting to know these people that you probably never would have ever encountered otherwise. But also you're learning all of these things that might pique your interest and take you off down a path that you never knew you wanted to pursue.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a wagon wheel of how it can grow for you. I don't know. It's crazy that it's so open-ended.
Oh yeah. I mean, like, I've always credited streaming to being the culmination of all the little stuff I know how to do. Like, there's never, personally for me, I'm not trying to say this for anybody else, I've never felt like there was one thing I was good at. But streaming takes all the little things I know how to do and packages them in a way that it kind of, I guess, elevates me. And one of the biggest things that I think I've learned, especially this year, is how much I love the social media organization. I've been hitting that hard these last couple of years, and I never would have found that had I not just started streaming.
Yep. And I glossed over it earlier, but that's one of those things that, like, you're so good at it, people would pay you money to do it. I mean, there are people out there that are worse than you at it, that make more money than you doing it. So, like, that I'm not being specific or anything, but that's true. I mean, there are people that are worse at social media marketing than you, making more money than you right now. And I'm not saying that you should use streaming as a stepping stone to something else, but because I think that diminishes the value of what it actually is. So that's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is, you're leveling yourself up personally while you're having fun and while you're doing something you want to do. So there's nothing disingenuous about taking these things you've learned and applying them elsewhere. Like, if to hear myself saying that as a 19-year-old or a 20-year-old, I'd probably want to hit myself. But because at that point in time, I'm like, nah, man, I'm not gonna work corporate. I'm gonna be in a band forever. But like now, I mean, I've quite literally found at least a career. I might, it's not glamour, but at the same time, like I'm not static enough, like I'm not stagnant enough to want to stay in a state of, meh. Like I'm not gonna do that. So I'm just, it's the same thing anybody could do. Is you're gonna learn some things. You should leverage them to make yourself better and repeat ad infinitum. And keep streaming while you're doing it, because there is also the chance that you become PewDiePie and
Hopefully
you're
not that
huge.
guy, because that guy is very
I don't.
problematic.
I would say I don't know anymore. I can't tell. Like this whole meme, like I'll be completely honest. Like I don't know anything about him other than the fact that he has reached the news cycle for unsavory reasons. That's that's the extent of the exposure I have to a streamer like him. But now the internet like wants him to be like ultra famous. I don't get it. I don't get the internet. It's so weird and strange. But I mean, point being, there's nothing to say you can't. Like there is no level of impossibility. It's just, probability, I guess. So there's no reason you should ever stop doing what you enjoy because you learn some skills that can make you some money. You should continue to do the things that you enjoy. Um, I don't know.
I think to
Those
sum that
glasses.
up with one of my favorite Gambino lyrics, which is something that I wrote down on a dry erase board the day I started streaming, and you may have seen this. It says, "There are a million ways to shine. Choose one instead of what you're doing tonight."
Hmm.
I like that line.
I have noticed that. I do like that too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's life. Nobody has it figured out.
You know what's really funny to me, and I want to just throw this on because I feel like we're getting to the point where we're winding down. It's very, because this podcast originally started out as the nobody knows what we're doing. It's been 2 interviews back to back, because last week we had Gamersmack, this week we've had you. Without even having to be called that, it's the second time that somebody has said nobody knows. I don't know what I'm doing. And that's
Yeah.
a good feeling, because I like that the spirit of that sentiment is still alive in this without having to be so on the nose.
Yeah, well, it's real. I mean, that's what's cool though. If someone finds this purely on the notion that it's like, oh, some guy who's never streamed before is now trying to stream, like, let that be the internal consistency. Is I have no clue. I don't know what I'm doing.
It's going to be
Like
really exciting to see. Like, I mean,
you don't,
because
you don't even know what you're doing, and you're doing it well. So shit, I could be in trouble.
I wouldn't. Okay. No. But no, seriously, it is very exciting to me to see you. I mean, again, we've been friends for 10 years. To see you tackle something that I have loved and knowing that you're good at it, it's going to be really fun to watch. So I do want to make sure that I'm hammering this point home. Mixer.com/DearChristopher. If you're not already following him, make sure that you're doing this.
You'll be rewarded.
Do you have any
the viewer, not you?
Yeah,
like I'm gonna pay you off.
I know
after.
this is that you got it, like I got some compensation coming this way.
Yeah.
Do you have any final words to say before we hop off?
I don't know. I think I talked a whole lot.
I mean, it was illuminating for me.
I spun some webs. I think the only thing I have to say is what I said earlier, is that I have no idea what I'm doing. And come to the stream. I want you to come watch, and you should come watch on the understanding that I'm going to try to write some music and include you as a viewer. So it could evolve. It could be exactly what I want it to be. I don't know, and I'm counting on the participation to make it so. And I really hope that you take a chance and come and watch something that's kind of new, because it's just as scary for me. That's all I got.
Well, thank you so much, man. Thank you so much for doing this.
It's my pleasure. I've been wanting to sit down and talk to you for a long time with a microphone in front of me. We did it once and then you deleted it, so.
Okay, well, listen. I was still learning how to edit. Things were hard.
Yeah, I threw my hard drive in the trash accidentally. None of that's true. This is all hypothetical. None of that's true. Hypothetical, whatever. We should close this one.
We're
down.
done.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for listening, everybody.
Yes.
Bye-bye. right, everybody, if you did enjoy this episode, don't forget to follow, like, subscribe, wherever it is that you're listening to it. Make sure that you're doing the things. You can rate it and star it. If you did enjoy me personally, you can find me at TheTapStream on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. I am on all the places doing all the things, posting bite-sized versions of what I make so that it's a little bit more digestible on the go. You can go to TheTapStream.com and find links to our Discord, community art, the blog, and any embedded stuff. That is a great place to find me. You can also catch me streaming live on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays from 5:30 p.m. Central Standard Time to 10:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. So if you want to get some idea of what that's like, you can find me there. And finally, I would like to just end on this, because I always like asking what's been the highlight of your week. If I were to guess one point for me, it was sitting together with family and watching very old VHS tape recordings of me and my sister as children, particularly like on our birthday parties and Christmas Day. We couldn't have been older than, I don't know, 6 or 7 at most, and it was just a really incredible experience getting to get a glimpse of what life was like that, because it feels like a night and day difference, obviously, of, you know, me as a kid and me now. So that was a fun retrospective look. But I want to know about you. What was the highlight of your week? Tag me at TheTapStream and use the TapStream highlight hashtag so that I can find it. And yeah, until next time, I love your faces. We will be back. Bye-bye.